Hey all, I'm Brad of Brave the Woods. Today I have a special guest and friend of mine here who's going to be walking us through a Papercraft project. Alicia Colon is a graphic designer, a photographer, and a paper illustrator as she calls herself. And rightly so. I love these amazingly colorful worlds she creates out of paper. Not only is the paper construction impressive, but the way she photographs it afterwards makes it all come to life. But I'm so excited to have her here to work on this project with us and to show us how to do it all. So without further ado, here is Alicia.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brad, for having me. I'm really excited to kind of share the behind the scenes of creating a Papercraft. But I am Alicia Colon, as you guys already know. I'm a paper illustrator and also photographer. I own an agency where we partner with creative agencies or in-house departments that kind of want like a paper-loving visual asset library or whatever it is. And then from there, we also have another business that we just launched. It's a product line called Unstationary, and it's where you can buy pre-cut paper crafts, which is pretty exciting. But we'll be putting one of those together today.
Awesome. I'm super excited. We've been planning to do this for a while now, and I know it's been I'm gonna say it's been a bit. So I'm beyond excited that we figured out a time to do this, and we figured out how to do it now, because this will be the first one that we've actually had somebody doing a craft outside of the computer. That was kind of the vision for this whole thing to begin with. So I'm glad you're going to be the first one to make it happen.
Yes.
So that's awesome. And Alicia and I are good. Yes. And Alicia and I are good friends. And I've been wanting to do, I'm always intrigued by Papercraft because I feel like it's something that you need a lot of patience for. And I don't have a ton of patience, but I really like the craft. So I'm excited to ask lots and lots of questions and just see how you do it. But
awesome.
You got your dog in the back?
Yeah, we do have a studio dog. He was sleeping, and then all of a sudden he woke up. So I think perhaps he had a bad dream.
He's like, wow.
He's excited too.
That's awesome. Well, I'll let you kind of run with it to start and just tell us what we're making today.
Okay, so the first thing that we're making is this paper rocket. Now you can kind of see that there's a lot more detail here. We're not going to be doing that detail. So normally what I'll do is that I'll travel around at conferences and I'll host a workshop. And I always like to have at least one piece of the rocket or any paper craft that we do where the designers or creatives can customize. So for the rocket, it would be this wrap and this top, but in the pre-cut kit, that comes all intact in one piece. And so if anybody wanted to, decorate it, they could. So this is what we're making today.
That's awesome. And I saw that you were at Creative Works, and we got to hang out there. Just was it last month? Was it this month?
Yeah, I know. It's October. Technically, because it's November 1st. So,
that's true. I feel like it's going by quick. But I remember it. Yeah, I got to see them. What I'm getting at is I saw that in person. So it was really, really cool. I saw everybody else coming out of their workshop, having made theirs, and they turned out super cool. And they're just cool in person. Yeah.
The one thing that we didn't think about though, whenever we went to the creative workshop, was how are they going to bring them home? And so anyway, we got a plethora of photos of people traveling with their rockets, as carry-on. So that was, we're going to do a little bit better next time. So, but
is it a collapsible one next year? You could just,
right?
It's like origami.
I think we might just end up buying boxes to let people put it in.
That's a good call.
Something, yeah.
Okay.
So, but. Yeah, so the base of the rocket is this like polygonal shape. And so the whole body is composed of like 6 pieces. And we have your center, which is where the window is. And then you have these other pieces with these rectangular boxes that are going to end up being where the fins go, which are these pink things right here.
Oh, got it.
So I'm saving you guys a lot of time by doing some of this off camera so we don't have to sit here for an hour and a half, because that's generally how long it takes to put this thing together. So what I do is that we have these things are called box tabs is what we call them. And then I love Eileen's Fast Grab Tacky Glue, because in the world of paper crafting, you can only really go as fast as your glue dries.
Got it.
So with this, what we end up doing is I like to stick it and drag, because when you're doing that, you're also kind of smearing it a little bit. And the fast grab, they have like, sorry, keep going.
Oh no, I was just saying, how fast is it? Like, it's just a few seconds?
Yeah, it's just a few seconds. The fast grab is actually a really, really thick glue. There's other, Eileen's has like six different kinds of glue, which is kind of fun. And I've tried a lot of them. This is my favorite. It's thicker. And so if you need to like put something down and you need to let it kind of stay, it will.
Okay.
But you can kind of see how it's coming up on the side. So it's just slow going.
Does it dry clear?
Yes, it does.
Oh, that's nice.
The thing is, though, is that you definitely still get glue everywhere. So I like to have a wet thing. So this, again, is from Creative Works, the little drive into creative shop rag, which I super love. And so just have a little wet, napkin so I can just clean off the glue off my fingers. Because, I mean, normally when I do things for clients, it's really not that big of a deal because I can Photoshop it, right?
Oh,
but,
sure.
Yeah, sometimes we have like a project that just released with Ballpark Funds. Those were props for stop motion. And you know how stop motion is, right? A picture for each one. So you don't want to have to, for each frame.
Edit those?
You don't want to do that. No one wants to do that. So for video and for stop motion, it's where I generally work with.
Got it, because you just don't want that. Yeah, I would just say, because I feel like I would make a giant mess of all this, and maybe it'd be just how much you put, like, too much glue on there, or it just kind of. So is there a way to once it's on the paper though, like once it like kind of ekes out on the other side, is there any way to clean that up before it dries on paper? Because I imagine it'd be.
Yeah. So there is actually a special gum eraser, and it's for glue, which is actually really nice.
Really?
So if you get a little bit of glue on your paper, you just use this glue eraser and you erase it right off. The conundrum is though, is that you can also rub the paper raw.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and we don't really want to do that. So one of the things, and I don't know if you can see this, but there are score marks here.
Oh, okay.
And so with a lot of what score marks are indentions in the paper that pretty much that help pre-fold, where the paper is going to fold, right?
Do you have a tool for that, or?
So the Cricut, we use a Cricut in order to cut everything. And eventually we're going to be moving over to dies, which I'm really excited about. And we can talk about that a little bit more at length later.
Yeah.
So I use a Cricut and it scores everything. And so you can kind of see here with the shadows, like that's what it's doing. And so, cause you want everything to be precise. I mean, you're pretty much paper engineering this whole thing, right?
Yeah.
So you need it to be precise, because if not, then your other pieces won't fit. We had this one guy in our Creative Works class. I won't say his name because it's pretty funny. But he
can tell me after.
He tried to do the rocket in 5 pieces instead of 6. And that just didn't work.
You're like, this is a pretty precise art.
Yeah, this is, and I think that's when you were saying like Papercraft takes a lot of patience.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of patience in putting it together because of the glue, but I think more so in trying to figure out the template.
Oh, sure.
Oh my gosh, especially if you're not mathematically inclined.
So because this is something I guess people don't think about either. This kit, you had to make the template too. So did you design this in like Illustrator or something like that, or how did you
actually
create this?
Yeah, so all of my processes, everything goes through Procreate first and just sketching out ideas and colors and, all of that good stuff. And then from there, it goes into Illustrator. And that's, simple enough, right? Mm-hmm. And then from there, I export everything out as SVGs. And then in Cricut, the SVG will import exactly the size that you made it as. And
nice.
Yeah, and then from there you cut it out, really. So, I mean, there's still a little finagling with the software in between, to indicate what you're going to cut and what you're going to score. But,
sure.
It's actually pretty easy.
So I imagine you go through lots of revisions trying to figure out, like for this rocket, did it take tons and tons of prints, times to cut this out of Cricut before it was correct?
What's really funny is that we call it printing in here, like in the studio too. Like, oh, we got to print.
Yeah, something. I know. Yeah.
And we mean
just cutting it out, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Like, we got to print that. That's funny that that was innate for you as well.
Yep.
Yes. Oh my gosh, the amount. Because here's the thing is that like there's actually a lot of different ways to make this. All right. So we have our body. We only have one more piece, and you can see that for every other is where a fin's going to go, and that's what we kind of need in order for it to stand up.
Awesome.
So we have every other, and then this is the last one to go in. And the reason why is because you have the window here to help you push these tabs through, which is really nice.
Oh, that is nice. Was that planned? Or was that just like a nice little coincidence?
You know what? I would have to say there's a lot more nice coincidences than
little happy accidents.
big plans. Yeah. A lot of Bob Ross happening over here. For
yes. Sure. What about your paper? Is this a special kind of construction paper? Is this just the kind you get from I don't know, any craft store?
Yeah, this is any kind of craft store, absolutely. So a lot of this stuff just comes from the cardstock aisle.
Okay.
The sweet ladies at Hobby Lobby that always check me out probably know me by name now because I'm literally the only one who's going and buying $100 worth of loose leaf paper. And
that's probably true.
Yeah, they have found it. Which is probably makes such a memorable impression. So because it's crazy how much paper I buy.
Wait, so did you use those awesome Hobby Lobby like coupons there, like the half off type of things? Or...
Yeah, but a half off a piece of paper is like 25 cents. So
because it's all separate. It's not like your order.
Yeah,
huh? That's true.
Yeah,
you get those like 20% off your order at least sometimes.
Yeah, I guess maybe I never do. It got to the point where I was just like, you guys can keep the 25 cents for counting, like however many sheets.
That's hilarious. Yeah. So you buy them all. So you can go in there and buy them separately. You don't buy them in like a ream.
No. Well, so I have actually had bad experiences with buying in reams because so what ends up happening, like recollections specifically, not to call them out or anything, sure. But you go and you buy them, and I really like the colors together, the triad or whatever. They have like 4 or 5 colors, 6 colors, and they all work really well together. And that for me, I feel like I'm colorly challenged. That's actually a really good thing. But the problem is that like, let's say in a few months or even a year, you go back and you're like, oh man, I really want this blue. See, it's kind of come in to shape. So let's say like, oh man, I really wanted this particular blue. Well, they do like, I think they dye them together because you'll get that same set, but all the shades will be different. Meaning, for the tints, so the hues are the same, but it's like the tints are like very different.
Oh shoot. So you do have to buy them separate just to make sure that they're all the same color.
Yeah, for sure. So, but I am now kind of looking at, for these at least, to go with like French paper or something like that, because I'm thinking that they all have a little bit more of a consistency to them. And the Cricut, while I really love the Cricut, it has a maximum cut width of 12. But if you go to French paper, of course, of 12 inches. But if you go to French paper, of course, you can get paper that's bigger than that. And now with going to dyes, instead of, cutting everything out individually, I'll be able to run bigger pieces because of the die press, which is really exciting.
That is exciting. So the Cricut that you have now, I know there's lots of different models. Which one do you have now for those if somebody's trying to get into this?
I have the Maker, which you can probably maybe kind of see. I don't know with the lighting.
I can't see it. But I know where it's at, yeah. Cricut Maker?
Yeah, I have the Maker. I started with the Explorer. Like I've had 3 of these now. So my previous agency bought me one, and I had like the Explorer Air, which was really nice. And then I had them also at home because I was a lot cheaper than my agency. I just got the like good old wired one, and it worked really well as too. But the reason why I really like this Maker is that they have a scoring wheel, and the scores are a little bit deeper than using the stylus. Okay.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we have We have our guy. All right, cool.
Yes.
So once we have our basic rocket down, our rocket body, this is like our structural foundation for everything. So you'll see that everything kind of goes on top of this here soon. So we'll just kind of place this here. And now we got to move on to our fins. And so you'll see that I already have 2 fins done. And then we have 1 fin yet to go.
That is super cool looking.
All right. So the fins, thanks. So the fins they have the box tabs, which we were already talking about those. But then we also have these things that I call shutter tabs, because it reminds me of a camera. Whenever you're taking a shutter, right, those round things kind of close down.
Yeah.
But talking to the dye people, apparently they're called sawtooth or something.
Oh, interesting.
So,
okay.
Anyway, I'm always.
That's what they look like, yeah.
I just make up names. Yeah. I'm like, no, those are shutter tabs. And they're like, no, they're sawtooth. I'm like, okay, well, you call them tomato and I'll call them tomato, and it's fine.
As long as they do the same, they do the right thing.
Right? So what we're going to do now, again, there are score marks on this whole entire, this particular kit. There is not, or are not, whatever the proper English is, with the other the other Papercraft kits.
Yeah.
They do not have score marks.
Oh, okay.
So this is actually the most complex one that we have right now. So we would say that this would be for like the 14-year-olds. And we would say, I would like to say that younger kids would be able to do it. But again, I think it's the patience and the perseverance. I don't think that they would do it. Frankly.
Yeah, that seems true. And the reason why they do that, kind of like that sawtooth, or what'd you call it? The shutter? What'd you call it? What'd you call the
shutter tabs?
Yeah, the shutter tabs. Now, is that because of the curve? Is that why you have to do so many of them?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and what I have learned is that if you make the shutter tabs too thick, and we'll see this here too, if you make it too thick, it will restrict how round something will be.
Oh, got it.
So it'll be kind of like tick, which is
Sure.
good if you want that kind of look, but that's not necessarily what we're going for.
Got it.
For us, this is our wing accents, we have going around the wings. Now, what you guys probably noticed that I did is that we do have a tab. So I bent the tab, and then just like a ribbon or whatnot, I have stretched the fibers out so it naturally curls. So when I am gluing it, it already has a natural curl to it, which is nice.
That is nice. I remember having to do that for the ribbons on balloons, my mom, or packages or whatever. You had to take the scissors, the one side of the scissors, and kind of pull it until it like curled up. My mom did lots of little background. My mom was like a super crafter. She still is, but she did craft shows, and like literally we would create all the crafts with her to sell at shows. So
oh man, that's cool.
Lots of the stuff's hitting home. Hands-on activities.
Does she still do that?
She does a lot of it. Yeah, she's more into quilting. She's very, very good at quilting, but she always does her other, and sewing and stuff like that. But she always did, like, my dad would actually carve out wood, what do you call those, like the little bears or something that would be like necklaces, like back in like the 90s when like wood necklaces were appropriate. I guess if there was ever a time that they're appropriate, it probably was the 90s. Like even like button covers, they were like, yeah, anyways, there were button covers. That was the thing.
Amazing.
But yeah, but we would always like have to go in and like hand paint all the details on the animals and things that she did, or like the pumpkin for Halloween. And so we kind of did an assembly line as kids, and I remember doing all this little stuff with my hands then. And maybe that's why I'm so impatient now, is because I did so much of that like against my will. and now I'm just like, bring it on the computer. I just want to get this over with.
It would be quick. Don't be quick. Now you have kids, don't you?
I do. I have 3 kids.
Yeah. Now we've talked about that. Now, do they help you in the studio, or are they kind of like, hey Dad, how do I do this? Or are they at that age yet?
My oldest, he's 7. He's at the stage where he really wants to help out, and I can. It's kind of hard when it's on the computer, but every once in a while I can bring out my iPad and have them try to solve a problem with me, and they get a kick out of that. And then my daughter, she's 4, and so they want to spend a lot of time in the studio, and they want to give advice. And so if I did more things with my hands, I feel like it'd be a little bit easier, but because I do it on the computer, they don't really get to do a lot of hands-on, but we do a lot of our little projects, like wood projects. I do a lot of, I like as a hobby, I'm doing kind of wood carving and things like that. So I do a lot of that with them.
That's cool. Oh, see, look, full circle.
Yeah, right.
You're doing
It's wood again. It's wood again. All these little crafting projects. And my mom always teases me when she comes over and visits, like when we watch a movie or something like that. Anytime with my mom, if you ever watch a movie with her, she can't sit still. If she does have to sit still, she has to be doing something. She can't just sit there and watch a movie. So she'll be quilting or crocheting or drawing or something while she's watching a movie. And it always drove us crazy. But now I'm sitting there, carving out something out of wood while I'm watching a movie. My mom's like, see, I told you.
That's so funny. That is so funny. Yeah, I love the idea of trying to like get your kids involved. And the thing with my kids is like I try to convince them I have a cool job.
You shouldn't have to convince them that much. You do awesome stuff.
I'm like, I get to make things out of paper, like who else do do that? And they're like, I guess Mom. And they're like, Mom, are you going to give the teachers paper kits again for teacher appreciation? I'm like, what? It's cool. Nothing else is giving your teachers that.
That's so funny. We give our kids teachers like our book, like, our illustrated, our kids book that we made, but it's like same thing. We always give them the stuff that we made.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, because everybody else is going to give them hand sanitizer and chapstick. I mean, come on.
And a Starbucks gift card. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Which, you know what? Honestly, they probably would rather have the Starbucks card. I understand.
Like, do you want to do one more paper project? Or would you like Starbucks?
I know, exactly. Especially since the majority of our teachers, well, and yours obviously too, are elementary.
Yeah, exactly. So like, that's what they're all into that. So how old are your kids? Are teenagers then?
So right? I have one that's 11. So, I mean, I don't
okay.
And she's the oldest. Yeah. So she's not there yet. But golly gee, it feels like
I feel
and
like
the other two are younger.
Oh, okay. So not significantly older than that with your kids. Okay, that makes. So then they're probably do they help you out then with your paper craft, and do they like it?
No, they don't. They don't like it at all. They do love seeing what I make though, I think, which is like really, kind of nice. So every once in a while, whenever I need to like push something, like normally I'll have like, I cleaned it up for you, Brad, so I don't have my tweezers here. I should.
Oh, okay.
But normally I would, kind of use tweezers.
To pinch that or?
Yeah, Katie just slid me some tweezers. Awesome.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, to pinch it. So, or normally what I'll do is I'll insert a dowel rod or a pencil or whatever, in there and kind of use that as the pressure. But now we have our fins. So the exciting part is now we can put our fins in. All right.
Yeah, I was curious how this worked.
Yeah. So now you'll see that we have these kind of many little Demigorgon looking, tabs.
Yes.
And so what we'll do is that we'll slide them in. We're going to put glue on them, of course. We slide them in, and then there is a hole here we'll use to then put pressure on that glue. So.
Oh, got it.
All right, so here we go. So these are the nice little tiny box tabs. And, everyone always asks, like, well, won't you get glue on your rocket doing this? And I'm like,
that's what I was going to ask.
Absolutely you get glue on your rocket doing this. But
yes, you will.
Generally speaking, you can always kind of wipe it off. I mean, oops. Well, you got to get all your tabs in there, too.
So you sell these? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I want to finish this. I'll have a question
you're good.
for you.
Yeah, no, I'm saying so this is why it's really good to have the wet.
Oh, I see. Yep. Just to wipe that off real quick.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to just be able to wipe it off your fingers so that glue doesn't transfer then anywhere else. So yeah. Okay, what was your question?
I'm trying to think now. Oh, when you dang it, now I lost it. I did have it. It was something about when you sold these. Do you have video? Do you have videos to show people how to do like video tutorials for folks who buy them to see, or do you have just instructions for them to follow?
Yeah, we have right now we have PDF instructions, but the
Okay.
goal is to do videos of this. So I guess technically now I can just send them to your
It's like, hey, watch
to
this
your channel.
one until you have your
What?
own video. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, because I think the video is just going to be able to explain a little bit better, some of the tips and tricks that you can't really communicate and, or just
Yeah.
show like, run the thing through your fingers to stretch the fibers to curl it. It's like once you see it, oh, that's exactly what she's doing. But
That's exactly right. I'm actually running into that with the company that I did that Scrimshaw video for. I'm not sure if you saw that, but
yeah.
the etching into the bone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember like we didn't have a video for that when I first did it, so I tried to do it off the instructions, and the instructions were actually good instructions. It was just like there's just some things you can't quite tell in instructions, and so I was like, am I doing this the right amount of times? Is it supposed to look like this? And that I remember that being like tricky. I was able to do it, but yeah, I feel like a video like this one will be nice to reference.
Will be nice. Yeah, exactly. And so that's our plan. The shop, I mean, we still are trying to figure out packaging, which we finally got a solution today of like, how are we going to package everything? And because I mean, this is a baby shop,
Yeah.
so we still got a lot of things to figure out. But at least like I subscribe to the like, moving forward, even if slow and imperfect is better than not at all, so
Yes.
that is
I'm
just
right there
how
with
I
you.
operate.
No, because it's live now, so it's out there, it's out in the world. Now you can kind of I just treat everything as like a beta. This is just the beta
Right.
version.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So here we go. You can kind of see
Whoa,
it where it's going, which is really exciting.
that is cool,
Okay.
and that's pretty sturdy. It looks pretty sturdy. The finished one looks like they're pretty solid.
Yeah, they are pretty solid. And so now what we can do is that we can put this little tiny, I think it's a hexagon. I'm not going to count
It is.
the sides. Okay. Like,
I'll count it for you.
yeah. So we just kind of fill that space in because we are done
With the inside.
inside. Yeah, which is exciting. Okay, cool. All right, so we're just going to let that chill out for a little bit. And now I'm going to clean off my fingers. Okay, so now we're going to do the wrap around it. So the purple wrap. Okay, so we have this, and we have our window edges, and we have our ring, our circle, and I'm going to end up having to cut out a piece of glare, if you will. So like, there's a piece of glare right there.
Oh,
so
did you find it? I didn't find it.
No, I didn't find it. I'm going to have to cut it. So the wrap is going to wrap around the piece, but what we're going to do is that we're going to get everything like situated together first before we wrap it around wrap around the rocket. And these scores just make it really super easy for us to know where we need to where to put glue, and then B, where to fold. So
yeah, that's nice. I always wondered, I was wondering how you did to me. It's like they look super, super precise. It makes way more sense that you cut these out, or you had them cut out by the Cricut.
Yeah,
this would be really frustrating. You had to do that by hand. Do you ever start by just doing like dummy versions of this, test versions by just cutting it out, or do you just go straight to the computer and just make sure it's right that way?
Oh man, yeah, no, I always go generally because I mean, I can't draw. I just my like hand-eye coordination or like hand stability. I don't know what it is you artists have that can like actually draw. Whatever it is, I don't have, or I haven't had the discipline to like persevere to develop it. So give me some Bezier curves all day.
Dang, no, that's impressive though. Sometimes I think it's just how our mind works too. Like I think I've made an actual like conscious effort to go more hand drawn when I started off very vector, because I started off as a designer, and you did too, right? Isn't that your degree, graphic design degree?
Yeah, I was a print. Yeah, I was a print designer, specifically focused on brand.
Okay.
So yeah, so I feel yeah.
Well, yeah, and then so I've seen. So I was stalking your LinkedIn page. Like I know I've been following you. We've been connected for a while, but I wanted to look and I was just making sure, well, like what I'd seen your background and your work history is interesting because you went from like your first job was like a design job, and then you went to project management, and then you went to photography, and now you do like paper illustration plus photography. I feel like you changed every single job that you did. You kind of changed your focus. Was that intentional, or was that just kind of you were just interested in trying out different things?
Yeah, I think I was just interested really in trying out different things. So one of my big things that I always say is, I don't know well, I do know how to say it. So like early on in my creative career, what I ended up doing a lot was I was thinking that my passion had to like direct my next step. Right. So I was trying to milk my passion for my direction. And I got really frustrated and very paralyzed and realized that, you know what, that's not the way to go about it. And I realized that from just like giving up.
Sure.
I was like, well, screw this. I don't know how my passion is ever going to align with any of this. So I'm just going to like move forward and just kind of forget it all. And so then what I ended up doing was, at that point, I just got curious in things. And then I just started chasing that curiosity. I was like, oh, well, what would happen if I did this? And so that's when I discovered photography. And then from there, I just stayed curious and I stayed exploring all those different things. And then when I did that, I realized, oh, because now I'm like, 14 years of, following my curiosity. And I'm realizing like, oh, I was supposed to follow my curiosity because now my passion is being met. My passion when a long time ago was like, how can I use my art for good? Like I love creating things, I love creating things and I love creating things that are meaningful. I'm not one of those people that like to create art for art's sake. Like I don't like whenever I create something, it has to have a meaning, has to have a form or a purpose. Okay. And so like even this, like while this is really fun to me, I see a person who perhaps might be kind of shaky in their creative walk and they don't necessarily know what to do. And so this is an outlet for them to explore, to experiment something. They might be afraid to fail, but we're encouraging them to actually do that because we know that failure is growth. And to persevere and move forward. I'm also thinking that this is a thing for people to bond over, having 3 kids and having both sets of my grandparents or my kids' grandparents in the same city. It's like, we know that this is an opportunity for them to get to know each other and bond over some other things, that doesn't involve screens. And so I guess I see a bigger purpose for this, right? Than just like, oh, this is fun. Mm-hmm. And so back in the day, though, I didn't know, I'm like, I really want to do this, but I didn't know how to. Meaning not this particular thing, but like, how do I make my art be something that is impactful for others?
Sure.
And so now that I followed my curiosity, I understand, like, I'm here and I'm doing it. I'm doing the very thing shaped up completely different than I thought it would be, frankly. But doing it nonetheless and loving every minute of it.
That's super cool. I like how you phrase that too. I just, following your curiosity rather than, because sometimes you're right. That passion, like you may think like you're passionate about one thing and it's just like it doesn't quite line up with either your opportunity or the talent you have at that moment, that skill that at that moment. So just following, that kind of, it's just a bigger idea. I feel like it's a much bigger idea than just saying like, I want to be an artist or I want to be a graphic designer just because, I really want to get good at something and I really enjoy the process, which is what I feel like is okay. But I feel like you have some bigger goals there, and it's kind of been the same. It's been similar to what we've done because I feel like I've changed. I mean, I was a graphic design, major, and that was my degree, and then now I do mostly illustration work.
Illustration, yeah.
And that was due to just kind of following what was interesting, and I feel like the style too just continues to morph and change. And I actually had a really good conversation at Creative Works, talking to Ty Matson, and we were talking kind of just about how it was in context to, I was trying to figure out if we should hire new people people for Brave the Woods to work with us, but I was kind of worried because I have a very set, like, well, I kind of have my own style, right? And it's hard to hire somebody else to kind of come in and be like, oh, this is also Brave the Woods.
Yeah.
But he made a really good point just in terms of hiring somebody else, saying like, it's really it's in context of your brand. And what is your brand? It's bigger than just your style. It's all the pieces that make up your style. So it's like, we love educational content. We love doing things, aimed at kids or families or good causes and outdoors, a little bit retro. Like those are kind of things that define our style. But those can, you can achieve that without having my exact style. You can have other people's styles that kind of achieve the same type of brand goals. So that kind of opened my eyes in terms of just like, oh, maybe now I can hire people, but also just in terms of like what is it's more than just a style. Like that's not what Brave the Woods is, and that's not what you are. You're more of you're more than, I guess, just a lot more parts to it than just what
that's
we
really
see.
cool. Wise words coming from Ty right there. That's cool.
Yes, they were. But
yeah,
I love
that's
that.
awesome. That is really neat. So we just kind of blew through this creation of this little guy right here.
Yes.
So what I did is that we had two kind of lines with shutter tabs on either side, and there's some shutter tabs that were smaller and some shutter tabs that were longer. And the ones that are longer, these were flipped out because they're going to be glued on the opposite side of this, where the
Got it.
Yeah. And so where the inside tabs were shorter because they're going to be glued in the rim, right? And so they pretty much had to be the same size as the stroke.
Okay, I got it.
So, and there we go. So we just kind of pop that in. So, but we haven't glued it. So pretty much I'm going to bend them forward so I can get all the glue around it. And then I'll push it back down. And then we are almost done. Quite literally, after this, there's like 3 steps left. And we are almost done.
So yeah, you can afford to be a little more liberal with the glue on this side because you're not going to see it.
You're not going to see it, exactly. Yeah. So, but of course, you're going to get it all on your fingers. So, but yeah, going back to what we were talking about earlier. So I have a talk, and in the talk, the point is curiosity fulfills passion. And so that was a big thing that I just really wanted people to understand is that curiosity fulfills passion.
I love that. That sums up a lot of what I've thought, but I just didn't really have great words like to describe it. So that works out perfect.
You know what? This is so funny because this reminds me of like a ninja mask, but this is a cyclops.
You should put a little face underneath it, a little smiley face.
Oh my goodness. That's so cute. And I guess the reason why I'm thinking about that is because Luke Flowers, who's an amazing kid illustrator, wrote this. He wrote and illustrated this book, like Ninja Shinobi or something.
Yeah, not Moby Shinobi. Is it?
I don't know.
I think Moby Shinobi. That's what it is. I think that's the name.
So yeah. So anyway, so
he's
a lot
ninja,
of
yes.
Yeah, he's so sweet too. And so a lot of kids decorated their pumpkins like that. And he was retweeting them, and the mask is somewhat this color.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. My kids actually have it, but yeah, it's Moby Shinobi, and he's a little ninja. Yeah,
so cute.
That's cool. I really like. I was gonna say it looks kind of like one of the minions.
Oh yeah, that's fun. Yeah, so I'm using glue or the water to get a little bit of the glue off. You can do that. You just got to be careful because A, some paper will bleed, but B, you might warp it as well. So it's like you can do it. It's just got to be a little bit.
That makes sense.
All right, and then our last thing is this nice little cap. And so again, there are these scores that we just fold along.
And so on your other one, you have kind of a design on there. Is that just the paper, or did you draw those on?
I just cut those out by hand.
All those little tiny pieces?
Yeah.
Dang. Did anybody else have? I don't remember seeing those on that Creative Works at the workshop.
No, we didn't. Unfortunately, we didn't have time. So that's always whenever, depending upon how big the group is normally how fast we can get through something. And because
Sure.
I don't necessarily try to keep the class on the same step because I think that would be generally unfair. But we do try to kind of stick close together. So we're moving through the process of creating this together. And that one there was a lot. There's a lot. So there was a bit of a learning curve.
And you're doing it so quick, but you've done this before. So I feel like following along, if I was doing this with you, which I almost thought of doing.
That would have been so cool to send you one. Man, I didn't think about that at all.
I mean, I wouldn't have. I mean, I would love to try it out, but I feel like doing it live, asking you questions, having you do this, and me trying to do it, I think it would just be a cluster, and it'd be all my fault.
Well, there you go. There's the
here,
package.
I'm gonna change it to okay.
It's so cute.
I love the colors, and it's crazy because it feels like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like paper. When you look at it, it's just so clean, and I feel like that's part of like getting it cut out and scored by the Cricut and
having the perfection of it. Yeah, it is just. I think that's why I kind of fell in love with it because it's so graphical.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, when you photograph it and you understand lighting really well, you can also create a lot of depth to it too. So
it's got really cool planes all on it. So I feel like with the shadows it'd be really neat.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. It's one of my favorite things to photograph for sure.
Oh man, that turned out so cool. I'm so happy you're able to do this with me. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you so much for having me and just putting up with a lot of redundant motions.
No, it's great. I think it's important too to see that process because you even cut out a bunch of that, so it does take time and I feel like you just kind of have to be precise with it, and you have to be. I don't know. I feel like that's part of the process that would get me. So I really want to try it just to test my own patience. Because
you're gonna have to send me your address. I'm gonna send you one.
I'll buy one. I gotta buy one. So again, I'm gonna call out your shop. What's the name of your shop for everyone?
It's
watching?
unstationary.store.
Awesome. Yeah, and you have about 4 products up there now? Three or 4?
Yep. Yeah, we have 4 products. We just launched a Christmas tree, which I think it would definitely be good for 11-year-olds to do by themselves because of the top portion. It's hard for the Christmas tree in order to make that into a perfect cone. But other than that, younger kids could do it as well. So, I mean, honestly, it's one of those crafts that if, a 7-year-old wanted to do it, a 6-year-old, 5-year-old, they totally could. They would just definitely need their parents there. But we also have, I'm really excited, we have a fully white one. So if someone wants to get all just do their Starry Night Christmas tree or whatever, they could totally just paint or whatever they would want on it. So I'm really excited to see what people do with that.
I love that. Well, cool. Well, hopefully everybody gets a chance to go check that out. And so do you have any workshops, I guess, coming up? Do you have any workshops that people should know about, or do you? Where are you located? It's people. I'm curious. Are you in Florida still, or?
No, yeah. So I'm like 2 hours away from Florida. So I'm in Savannah, Georgia, and I do have a workshop coming up in Dallas in February. So the specific dates and the times and locations all are still kind of up in the air. Okay. But I definitely know it's with I think they have a local chapter like Dallas Arts or something. Okay. So, but I'll be there.
Perfect. And so where could people follow you to know, to keep up to date with these events?
Oh, yeah. So we share all of our events at Thrice Studio, and you can find that on any social platform. So we'll be there on Instagram, Twitter, and then Facebook, though we barely ever are using that one.
Same.
So
we're in the same boat. We used to use it a lot, and it's really trailing off.
Yeah.
I feel like the only time that you see anything on Facebook is if it comes from Twitter or Instagram posts, and it's share on Facebook. I'm like, sure. If someone's watching, they can see it.
So, yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun, and if there's any other parting words of advice for anyone thinking about getting into papercraft. Did you just do this as a hobby? Or did you watch a video? Did someone teach you? How did you get into this?
Oh, that answer of it could be about 30 minutes long, but I'll give you the shortened version of it. I was a studio photographer for 10 years, and I just tried a lot of different things and got to the point where I didn't want to travel anymore. And so I liked the idea of trying to stay local.
Okay.
And so I was like, well, what can I do for in and around that? And then at that point, Super Team Deluxe, which is Justin Mazel and Raji King, reached out and were like, hey, would you like to do some lapel pin photos for us?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, as long as, I can kind of explore what the background would be. And they're like, absolutely, that's what we want you to do. And then at that point, that's when I discovered paper. And I started looking for inspiration, and I realized that there's this whole realm of paper crafters, Tommy Perez being one of them.
Yes.
Just super talented and really nice folks, but there's not a lot out there in terms of learning it. There are a couple of books out there which has helped, but for the most part, it's just doing, it's understanding that when we fail forward, and understanding that, so for me, that was a big thing where failure used to be my paralysis, but now it's my, okay, I'm on to something.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is good. This is the direction I need to move in. And so just that understanding of fail forward was a big thing for me too.
That's neat. Well, you've obviously made something super special in your studio, and all the stuff that you're creating is really, really cool. How long have you been doing paper crafting then?
3 years. So I've been at this for about 3 years. The agency has been alive for a year. And I'm thankful for my previous creative agency, which was Focus Lab. I was there for 6 years, and 2 of the years of that, they allowed me to explore papercraft within the confines of the agency, which honestly, I don't think I would be where I am without their generosity, because I kind of look at how much time it took me to learn what I was doing.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to understand what I was doing, and they pretty much paid for that. That's just amazing. The generosity of Focus Lab will just ever be in my heart. They're an amazing company.
That's awesome. I've heard multiple friends who've worked there, and they've said the same thing. So
yeah,
that's cool. Well, okay, awesome. Well, everybody follow Alicia. Her stuff is amazing, obviously, and hopefully if anybody's getting into papercraft, maybe they can just follow you and kind of follow your journey, or hit up a workshop that you have going on somewhere in the country. Yep. I'm sure you'll do lots more. But awesome.
Sure.
Well,
thank you, Brad. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. It was an absolute blast to have Alicia here work on this, and no pun intended, I guess, here with the rocket that she made. It turned out amazing, and hopefully you guys want to go try it out yourself. You can get your own rocket kit if you would like at unstationary.store, which just opened, and has other projects as well that you can get already pre-cut and pre-scored, so you can go ahead and just try your hand at this yourself. So I had a good time, and I hope you guys did too. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe for future videos, and until next time, take care.